Jimmy Butler is barely an all-star, shoots less than 30% from 3, but over and over again, we've seen the phenomenon known as Playoff Butler, where he becomes the best player in the playoffs. But how? There's a secret to the madness. Hint, he's a psycho. We're gonna uncover it together and look behind the jump shots, the headbutting trash talk, Michael Jordan's DNA. Okay, that last one isn't confirmed to be true. But how can a guy who barely registers as a top 20 player in the NBA during the regular season, where his team also loses a ton of games, turn into the best player in the playoffs? I could give an in-depth breakdown of the on-the-court Butler, which I will, but so much of what makes Butler him is mentality. Something we could all learn from because every odd was stacked against him. So how did he become this psycho?
What?
Jimmy literally got dressed for Media Day, cut it off, and now this is his image for all promos. To the point that the NBA is using his 2K picture to avoid it. Man does not give an F, except about winning. This is what he said when the Heat got eliminated last year in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Next year, we will have enough, and we're going to be right back in the same situation, and we're going to get it done.
And this year, they beat the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. He called it, but growing up, he didn't work much on his game because no one cared about him. Why would no one look at Butler? Seems like a lot of people should get fired, right? Not exactly, because Butler wasn't that good.
I was terrible.
He was in a small school in Tomball, Texas, and at one point, homeless. He had no options, no big college recruiting. He shot 37% from the field and 28% from 3 in high school. Some hot garbage.
Oh yeah.
Man was the 127th ranked high school player in his class, yet that's why we see the Butler today. And I'll let Butler explain it.
I never worked on my game as much whenever I was in college, in junior college or in high school, because I was like, man, I ain't finna be a pro. I doubted myself.
What is up, dudes? So that's Butler's Players. It's your boy MJ. Yeah, man really thought he wasn't going pro, but to be fair, who would? You have a less than 1 in a million chance to make the NBA, and so Butler went to Tyler Junior College with no hope. But by chance, a Marquette assistant coach was at one of his games scouting another player, but got impressed by Jimmy's athleticism and work ethic. So Butler got an offer and faxed his acceptance in. And once Butler got the opportunity, he ran with it. He could actually become a pro. Since then, Butler never wanted to go back to his previous life.
People ask like, why you keep doing what you're doing? I'm not going back to the life that I used to live. That shit is out. My competitive edge, that shit comes from the fact that nothing was given to me, man. Yeah. Nothing. I had to go to junior college. I had nowhere else to go. I wasn't that good, so I know what the work can get you. I haven't won on any level.
That hunger never left. And most importantly, Butler learned that if he could just work harder, he would get further, even if he didn't have the natural talent. It's become ingrained in him, which is why we've seen masterful performances of Jimmy Butler giving it his all, and why all these other players with more gifts on paper, teams that are better on paper, have never seemed like a hurdle because Butler knows he can beat them if he just keeps working.
I don't do it for the fame. I don't do it for the money. I don't do it for nothing. The only reason that I do it is so when I go up against the guys that you could call out, they're gonna be like, I'm gonna go.
Remember what Michael Jordan said?
Let's see if all that trash talking starts when it's 0-0 instead of 5-6 point lead. That's the sign of a good man. If you can talk shit when it's even score, or talk shit when you're behind score. When you're ahead, it's easy to talk.
Jimmy's trash talking Drew when he was down, saying, I own you. And then came all the way back and still told Drew that he can't guard him while pointing at the scoreboard. And he was still down. Jimmy went at Grant Williams when the Celtics had a 92.8% probability of winning the game in the fourth quarter. And he came back and won that game too. That Jimmy point back is ruthless.
I am better!
At this point, Butler looks more and more like Jordan's son. He was even on the Bulls.
No.
Those Chicago Bulls that drafted him also set an important precedent that would completely transform the way Butler approached the game. In 2011, Jimmy Butler got drafted, and in 2011, Derrick Rose became the youngest MVP in NBA history. But the rest of the team, with Luol Deng, Carlos Boozer, Joakim Noah, did not give a F on who you were. If D Rose would miss a defensive rotation, Joakim would look at him and just curse him out. Jimmy was so shook, Just listen to his reaction.
MVP D-Rose, Defense Player of the Year Joe Kim,
Right.
All-Star Lou, Booz, Rip, all of them guys. The way that they used to talk to each other in practice is like, damn. You know, like if you can talk to MVP D-Rose like that, I know you gonna me up and when I do something wrong.
Right.
So this meant that Butler wasn't afraid of yelling at his teammates on what they did wrong and expected his teammates to do the same, which is how we got the iconic Timberwolves practice in which Butler took the third string, beat Karl Anthony Towns and the rest of the starters, yelled that you effing need me, and was doing an interview with Rachel Nichols 30 minutes after on ESPN, all to prove a point. And while we saw the beginnings of playoff Butler on the 76ers because Embiid respected Butler enough to go along with that blatant team style, the Miami Heat and specifically Pat Riley breathe accountability. It's why you can find Eric Spoelstra cursing out Jimmy Butler, unafraid and real. The Heat culture is described as the hardest working, best conditioned, most professional, unselfish, toughest, meanest, nastiest team in the NBA. It's why Giannis said the Heat were built for the bubble. Pat Riley forced Shaq to control his weight, so much so that Shaq opened 24-hour gyms to get to Riley's commanded body fat percentage. You know it's serious if someone can force Shaq to lose weight. My back! So the Heat and Jimmy were of a similar mind of accountability. Apparently, the 76ers didn't and picked Tobias Harris over Butler, which Jimmy Butler lets you know.
Tobias Harris over me?
Well, Ben Simmons didn't want Jimmy Butler handling the ball so much, so he made the 76ers make a choice and they picked Ben and Tobias. Nice. We've seen the Heat be the #1 seed in 2022, doing all the right things with Butler, but this season they barely squeaked into the playoffs. With the Heat up 3-0, I thought the Celtics would fight to not get swept for Game 4, and I thought Butler might take a strategic rest, as you're gonna see is crucial to playoff Butler. So I used that in Prize Picks, the sponsor of today's video. It's you against the numbers, and you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. It's daily fantasy made super easy. Pick 2 of 6 players, and if they will score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you get paid. So as I was watching the game, I picked Tatum more than 11.5 points, rebounds, and assists in the 4th quarter. Butler less than 10.5. It was part of the bigger picture for the Heat, and we hit. There's other sports too. All first-time users to deposit and use the promo code MJ2K will receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Download Prize Picks today and play daily fantasy sports with us using the link in the description. And make sure you use the promo code MJ2K when you sign up. Tell me which player you have the most faith in left in the playoffs in the comments down below, and play responsibly. If you look at Butler's stats for both these seasons, it's nearly identical. That's because this year they faced a lot of injuries. Caleb Martin was out 11 games, Strus 14 games, Hero 15, Jimmy 18, Lowry 27, Oladipo 40, Love only played in 21. That list is long, but that still doesn't explain why Butler's numbers jump from 21.5 points, 5.9 assists on 50% from the field in the regular season with the Heat for the past 4 years to 28.5 points, 5 assists on 51% from the field in the playoffs in the last 2 years. Actually, there's one season playoff Butler didn't show up, and that's in 2021 when he averaged 14.5 points, but that was with a back injury. Now, you might have thought that you were gonna get an in-depth on-the-court breakdown too, and you're right. But when I look at what Jimmy Butler has done in the playoffs, it goes back to mentality and culture. The rest of the Heat players move on the court to give Jimmy the entire right side of the court to isolate. They're letting him play to his strength. In the 22 playoffs, in the 7-game series against the Celtics, Butler had 41 points, then 29, but all of a sudden 8, 6, 13, and then 47 and 35, going from single digits to 40-point games. What is going on?
What happened?
Even against the Knicks this year, once they were up 3-1 in Game 5, Butler took a bit of a rest day. I was there live, and you couldn't really feel Butler's presence, probably by design because he was resting. Jimmy is aware of his limitations. He continues to play to his strengths of walking you down to the near elbow area until the defense adjusts. If we take a look at playoff Butler highlights over the years, you'll notice that a lot of his more iconic moments happen with him driving right in the elbow post area.
Butler.
This is an example of Butler knowing what he can and can't do. Normally in the playoffs, team will take away your biggest strength and force you to go to your second or third type of set. But with the way the Heat run their actions, they force you to make a choice. He's able to stay in these pressure areas long enough to read a defense. He'll slowly keep prodding into open space, especially the baseline area where he's not afraid to take a jumper or drive to force help. And according to scouts, he's just like Kawhi in terms of strength and not getting bumped off his spots. And like JJ Redick said about Kawhi,
tapped him on his stomach, and I remember thinking to myself, I just touched a robot. Like, this mother is built.
And if you're enjoying the video and want to be him like Jimmy Butler, subscribe because we got a lot more content. What people don't talk about enough is how good Butler is at drawing fouls, especially from those spots on the floor. He's pump faking and getting defenders off him because he's not always moving the fastest. He's able to change directions quickly, turn around pump fake, get bumped. It's masterful, punishing a defense for letting Butler get into good positions. He's averaged 8.4 free throw attempts a game in the last 2 playoffs. And as a guard, that is extremely high. Defenses don't know what Jimmy's about to do. Is he gonna pass or shoot? Because Jimmy himself isn't deciding beforehand. He's reading how defense is guarding him. If it's 1-on-1, Jimmy's gonna make sure he gets a shot he wants. If there's 2, he'll make sure to hold on to the ball until the second defender is fully engaged with him. Or he'll start looking towards the roller in the pick and roll and make the center confused AF. Like Mitchell Robinson here or Robert Williams here, where he doesn't know where to help or not. I mean, just look at the space Butler has when he's making the move. Most teams just don't know where to commit or not. He's also great from triple threat. That double jab series works well and gets him going right. Yet Butler isn't doing all of this to put up numbers. He just wants to win, and some nights he needs his teammates to step up to get rest. He knows they need 4 wins, and that if he went all out every game, he wouldn't last. Oh yeah, and then you have the X factor. To Butler, he believes he's a nobody in the sense that if a player is trash talking him, he feels a sense of pride and isn't gonna back down from that. In fact, he hasn't backed down from anything. You're only tapping into one of his greatest motivations of just being known as the MF that goes. His team just feels calm. Like Eric Spoelstra said, there's no analytic to it, just a feeling of stability. The rest of the Heat players are a lot of undrafted, waived people who were counted out. They resonate with Jimmy, but this on-the-court stuff isn't possible without the mentality that he can just outwork his opponent. And so, if you ask me why he's so good in the playoffs, simply put, Jimmy Butler is him. The all-day notification shout goes to Poguito. Thanks for the all-day support. If you want to know how Kobe was right about Harden but everyone ignored it, there's a video right here. And if you're still here, you already want to comment him so I know. It's your boy MJ. We out.